Hey friends, the Barky Dog here, back with a Barkcast. I don't know, I bet somebody took that name. I have to look, I haven't bothered. I'll have to look. Yeah, it's something a little different here. It's been a rainy day here. It's been raining today. And I had a little extra time, so I thought I would do a Barkcast, do some bark talk. But I hope you're doing okay wherever you are. I hope you and yours are doing okay. Hopefully we're putting this thing behind us with the whole cootie situation. I know it's still serious in some areas, but I hope you're okay. I got my shots, so I'm doing all right. Keep on keeping on, it's what you got to do. I was thinking, I mentioned in one video, I was thinking about doing a live stream. But I was looking at everything and looking at the numbers and everything, and I don't think that our channel, yours and mine, I don't think our channel really has the critical mass that you'd need for a live stream. Plus, it's a whole bunch of extra crap I gotta learn, so I'm kind of hesitant. But it is something I'd like to do, especially if we got more subscribers and all of that on the channel. Then it might be worth it to do, because then I could have the chat going with you, and it could be more interactive. But if I did a Barkcast, I'd probably just do something like this. I'd probably just have a graphic up and talk over it, But I figured I'd go ahead and dip a paw in the water, and do a Barkcast. I've done podcasts before, and this is kind of podcasty, I guess. I've done podcasts before. I used to do a podcast with some friends, and we did that for a couple of years, 2-3 years, until we finally exhausted the topic, and then we sort of gave it up. But that had a following anyway. But I wasn't running it. I was just a co-host. All I had to do was show up, so it's pretty easy for me. And then I did one that was a music podcast. And here's an old-fashioned term. It's hard to believe it's so out of date already. But it was pod-safe music. Pod-safe music, that's what they used to call it. Which is independent artists would put their music out there for you to use in your videos and your podcasts. As long as you gave them credit for it, you could go and get this music, see? And sort of a Creative Commons type thing, And that podcast, that didn't do anything. Nobody listened to that. So I did another one, which is a little bit more like this, just sort of, hey, here's what I did this week, and that kind of thing, sort of conversational thing, but that also didn't really go anywhere. And I gave it a good run, but it didn't go anywhere. And the last one I did, I was just reading stuff, reading poems and reading stories and other things, and not even cricket showed up for that one. Yeah, I gave them all a good run. I didn't just quit after like 5 episodes or something. I gave it a good long run, but it just never gelled. And eventually I was like, this is a waste of time, so I gave it up. But yeah, but I like podcasts. I like those sort of conversational podcasts. It reminds me, the good ones remind me of NPR when it was good, stuff like Fresh Air. I think they still do Fresh Air, I'm not sure. But that was a great show. Because it's just a conversation, and those are nice. But what I really liked was something they used to do on the CBC. I used to live where I could listen to the CBC from Canada. And what they had was a daily talk format. Not like the talk shows here, talk radio. No, it was more that sort of conversational stuff. And they had something called the Friday phone-in. And they would take questions from people. and discuss it. And some of the most fascinating ones would be the oddest subjects. They might have a guest in, let's say, who would talk about some medical issue or something. They might have someone in talking about utilities or something like that. I think my favorite was they had a gardening thing, and they would do this a couple times a month on Fridays. They would have the garden call in, the phone in. Just wonderful conversations you could listen to. The BBC, famously, many years ago, BBC Radio, did an episode of a show which was just describing a garden wall. That's all it was for half an hour, just describing it, the garden wall. And it was just fascinating to listen to. Wonderful stuff. Now everything's got to be so fast, everything's got to be cut. All the movies and shows, they don't take any time anymore. And it's too bad. And podcasts now, they got it so you can ramp it up to 1.5, 2, 3, 4, 10 times speed. You sound like a chipmunk, You sound like Alvin and the Chipmunks on one of them things. I listened to one once. That's all it took for me, and I was out, man. This one show had a couple of problems with it. In the first place, you had two guys who didn't know what the hell they were talking about. They just got a list somewhere off the internet, and they were just going down the list, just reading it point by point, but they didn't know anything about the subject. And what I hated about that was, well, they weren't very knowledgeable, number one. They're talking out of their butts. And second was that when they edited it, they edited so aggressively. They got rid of every breath, every pause, all the nuance. And it honestly sounded like somebody with a complete run-on sentence for 20 minutes. With no taking a breath or anything. Oh, it was so stressful to listen to. It really was. It kind of stressed me out. I never went back. Never went back to that podcast. And they had a following of some size, I guess. Now, they weren't big stars or anything. But they didn't get my like vote, I tell you that. No. I always like the more conversational stuff. But, anyway, I thought I'd do a Barkcast, and I figured just sort of to give you a little discussion here, I guess, about the channel and other stuff. I've been doing some tests on the channel. See, I've been doing these videos for over a year now, and it's just sort of been flatline the whole time. And recently we got some new subscribers. Hello, new subscribers. On paper, we're up to 80 subscribers, although one of them is me, so that doesn't count. And 3 or 4 of them are people I know in real life, so I kind of don't count them. And then you figure you got a couple of spam bots running around, and then there's legacy subscribers, and those are the guys, and we all do it, We subscribe to a channel, but then never watch any more videos for whatever reason. And I like to think most of the time it's, I'll get to those. And I've got a whole bunch in my watch list that I still have to go back and look at. But yeah, so easily half of them are probably these zombie subscriptions, or legacy subscriptions is a nicer term to use. So yeah, I think there's maybe 25 active viewers on the channel that isn't me or people I know or the other categories. But it's been kind of steady. If I look at my stats over the course of the lifetime of the channel, you see there is a demonstrable uptick, but it's very small. So I've been consuming a lot of YouTube how-to content, and there's several channels that specialize in this, and their advice is great. And a lot of it, I don't know if it applies to me, because I'm reviewing movies. A lot of them are talking about, if you do a cooking channel or a makeup channel or a how to garden channel, here's all these great ideas, but I'm doing movies, pretty much. So that's kind of a different thing altogether. I find with some videos, they're just dead as disco, right? They just don't do a thing. Barrymore is kind of this, it's almost an art house film. You could almost say it is. I mean, it's sort of this odd public television type movie, right? It's great. It's a great picture, but it's sort of different and not well known. Whereas something like The 13th Warrior or The Rocketeer or Batman Forever, those did fairly well for our channel. It did fairly well because they're so well known. So I find sometimes it depends on the movie, which is interesting. Journey to the Center of the Earth, that did okay because people know that one. But yeah, so that's kind of, some spikes in traffic are from that. But I've been testing other things. I've been looking at the thumbnails of the videos. I think they're pretty legible even at a small size. I think the text on it is still legible. I don't think they're too bad. They're colorful. And I've been looking over them and thinking, what could I do there? Maybe I could brighten them up a little bit so they're a little more noticeable. And so I'm starting to add these colored blocks in there. That's a test. I may not keep doing that. We'll see. We'll see if there's any result from that. And other things I've been experimenting with, a lot of them are on the back end that you don't see, with tags and stuff that you don't really see stuff like that, but that's okay. I had the week off, so it allowed me to do some extra stuff that I wanted to do. And normally I can't crank out as much as I have been this past week. I've experimented with some shorts, and those are the hot new thing on YouTube. You know, I ought to give it a go. But it's not, I don't know. Mostly I do movie reviews. That's mostly what I do because I love movies and I know movies, and it seems like something that is a good fit for me. So that's what I do. But to review a movie in under 60 seconds, you gotta be a motor mouth. And I don't know that that's something I want to keep doing. I like a slower pace. So I don't know if that's something I would keep doing. But I'm not done with shorts. I'm thinking of at least one I'm going to try to do this weekend. I want to try and get it shot anyway. We'll see. But it's just a dopey thing. It's not a movie review. Really, at this point, I've done about 4. The one about cats. That one got a lot of traffic. It's like the most popular thing I've ever done as far as views. But nobody actually watches it. If you look at the numbers, you'll see 12 seconds in and they bail. Yeah, so probably, you know, I don't blame them. It's about Cats 2019. I'd swipe left too. I'd get rid of it too. Yeah, so I don't know. I was doing those, and I just kind of rehashed some content because I had it ready-made where I could just cut it down, try it, you know, an experiment, as a test. And yeah, I kind of started to feel like, if you ever watched Sequest, back in the day, Sequest DSV, at the end of each episode in the first season, they had Dr. Ballard on there, the guy that discovered the Titanic. He was on there giving a scientific breakdown of something that was in the episode that week, which was really interesting. And but the poor guy, he had to do it over the end credits, so he just had to be a motor mouth sometimes. And you could tell he was trying to get through it really fast. And but it reminded me of him having to do that. So I don't know with the shorts if I'll stick with those. You do get a lot of views, and to YouTube's credit, they did put it out there to test it. At least the cats video they did. And you know, it got put in front of a lot of people. But didn't really turn into subscribers or anything else. So, like I say, they really weren't watching it. And I don't know, humor is subjective. Maybe they didn't like the humor or something. But more often, I think they just like, man, move on to the next thing, is talking too fast, you know, I don't know. But I'm testing a couple of things with the videos. See if we can't get them a little more exciting, or I don't know, surface them a bit more. So that's something I'm doing. So you've been seeing a little bit of that. As for a Barkcast, I think it's like somebody probably has that name. I haven't looked. I guess I'll have to look now. But yeah, I guess it's extra content, so why not? There are people that do live streams and podcasts and put them on YouTube, and they put them on a separate channel. They say it kills their stats for some reason. But I don't think we're going to hurt ourselves if we put it on my regular channel. I don't know how often I'll do this, but I just thought I'd go ahead and do one. I thought I might talk to you here, besides that, about the process of how I make a video. What's my process? What's the process of doing a movie review on my channel? Well, the first thing I have to do, there are steps to it. The first thing I have to do, I have to choose a movie. And not all movies lend themselves to a movie review. At least not the type I do. For example, I recently tried to watch this 80s movie, and I love 80s movies. I think the bulk of my reviews are 80s movies. It was Rock Aliens from Outer Space or something like that. It stars Pia Zadora. Anyway, so you can look it up. Oh my God, was it awful. It was awful. I could not even finish that movie. But it was sort of a musical, sorta. It had aliens in it that were kinda alien or something, but it was supposed to be a comedy, but it was a comedy that wasn't funny. And even the 80s vibe going on couldn't save that movie. And I don't even think I finished it. I think I got about halfway, and I pulled the ripcord. I was gone. It was so bad. And I thought, hey, this'll be fun. 80s movie, aliens, rock and roll, hey. But no, that was a real disappointment, that one. God, that was tedious. Pia Zadora, of course, got her start in Santa Claus Conquers the Martians. But in any case, yeah, that movie just didn't lend itself to a review. I think another movie that I watched recently, and I was thinking, yeah, I'm going to review this one, was The Friends of Eddie Coyle. Friends of Eddie Coyle is a great picture. It is a great picture. Robert Mitchum stars, and he is fantastic. This is early to mid 70s Mitchum, and he was doing some really interesting pictures. And this is a sort of gritty kind of picture, a gritty real life picture of a small-time hood. The story is about a small-time hood who runs afoul of the higher-ups. And it was all shot in and around near where I used to live when I was very little in Massachusetts. It was all shot around Weymouth and south of Boston and all that. So it was kind of interesting for me to see the landscape as it was back in the day. And again, it's not glamorous or anything like that. It's an interesting picture. It deals with crime from a small-time hood's perspective. But I didn't think it really lent itself to a review necessarily. It was a serious picture. It was a good picture, very good picture. But I didn't think, well, I don't know, would that work for me on my channel? Maybe, maybe not. I may revisit it. I'm not sure. But anyway, the first step is you've got to find a movie. You got to find a movie to review. Whether it's one you like or one you don't, you got to find a movie to review. Then, once I find the movie, I got to watch it, right? So I got to watch the whole thing through, even if it's a movie I know well, like The Rocketeer, which I've seen a bunch of times. You have to watch it to have a fresh perspective on it, a fresh look at it. Because there might be things you don't remember, there might be things that didn't gel, there might be things that didn't stand the test of time or live up to your memories of it or whatever. So you gotta watch the movie through and give it a fair hearing, so to speak. Then once I watch the movie, I've got to write up some notes, what I'm going to cover about the movie. And then I'll record a video, right? I got to record a video. So I've talked about this before. I live in an apartment, so I don't have a lot of space. So that means moving all the furniture out of the way. I figured out how to move the furniture very quickly, so it doesn't take too much time. Maybe, 5 minutes to shove the couch out of the way and move the coffee table and shove some other things over here and over there. It doesn't take too long. And then you got to set up all the lights and all of those kind of things, because I don't have an actual studio space where I can leave all that set up. I don't disassemble everything. I just collapse the light stands down, but I don't take everything apart. And I put them off on the side of the room so they're out of the way, more or less. But I don't, take all the lights out and put them in a box and all. I don't bother with that. But you got to set all that stuff up. Right? Because I'm in a relatively small space, I'm kind of sitting there surrounded by a forest of light stands. Which makes it a little difficult to move around, which is kind of why I don't move around much on a camera there, And then, setting up the lights could take maybe half an hour to get everything set up right. Then you got to record your video. And when I record the video, that might take 10, 15, 20 minutes. It depends on the video. And then I got to take everything down and put all the furniture back. And that's my rule. I have to do that because I'm pretty lazy. And if I don't do it as soon as I'm done, I won't do it. And it'll be kind of a pain in the butt later. So I live hard and fast by that rule. Once I'm done, move all the furniture back. Then I can take the files, put them on the computer, and that's where I would make a rough cut in DaVinci Resolve. That's the software I use. Kind of like Adobe Premiere or any one of those. Final Cut Pro is another one. Sony Vegas is another video editor you could use. I like DaVinci Resolve. I think that's a very fine software, and they're always updating it. They're always upgrading. They're always fixing stuff. They're always very active about taking care of business. So I love their software, and you can get it for free. About 90% of everything you would need you can have for free. There are some higher end things like adding film grain and stuff like that that are they have limits on it, so you can't use that if you use the free version. But the paid version's only like $300. Compare that to Adobe Premiere, where they're going to hold you hostage with a subscription fee. And I'm like, no thanks. So I have DaVinci Resolve, great program. And the audio, I usually run that through RX Studio, just to do noise reduction and stuff like that. And then once I get a rough cut put together in DaVinci Resolve, I have to figure out, well, what's the music? I guess that's another step. You got to choose the music for it. You've got to find assets, or I call them assets. I have a folder, assets, for this video. And in that, I would put the movie posters and maybe some production pictures and those kinds of things. And I might put a movie trailer in there. So I use mostly stills from the movies now, which takes time. You got to pull the stills from the movie. That takes quite a bit of time. It's almost like having to watch the movie twice. But yeah, it's part of the hazards of being a big YouTuber like me. But anyway, once I pull the stills, which can take some time, then I edit the rest of the video together and polish it up and do all the things I gotta do, and then post it for you. And that's pretty much what I do. But well, that's the process. That's the process in a nutshell. Pretty well. It's a pretty big nutshell because I've been rambling away here. Yeah. But anyway, I thought I'd try doing a little Barkcast here. So, man, I don't know what else to do but sing a song. I guess I could do that. Let's see. Oh, the bathtub ran over again as I was laying there dreaming. I was dreaming of you, and the tub ran over as tubs will do. The ceiling started dripping again. The downstairs neighbors are saying, dreaming about your baby's okay, but the house is floating away. Yes, I guess I heard the water, but I didn't bother to look. I dreamt we were in the country, and the water was the tinkling of the babbling brook, so the bathtub ran over again. It always does when I'm dreaming, and I'm always dreaming of you. So before I drown the whole darn town, I guess you better say I do. Oh, that's a cute little song. I like that. I heard that somewhere. That's a cute song. Well, I guess I'm going to wrap up this Barkcast. I've been babbling on here long enough, but it give you something to listen to in the background anyway. Next one, I'll probably actually talk about movies, which I know is what we all care about. So until next time, you take care of yourselves, okay? And I'll see you in the next one.